Hello and welcome. In this video we are talking about my DFIR Unit 7 Lab 1. We are doing virtual memory. Well, we're doing memory that was saved, so memory capture, and we're going to be looking at WannaCry inside our memory capture. So this lab we're going to be using the forensics workstation through SANS, Swift, and the assumption is you already have the memory capture. It's not something that I can distribute. I don't own it. It's something that belongs to the university, and I'm not allowed to distribute it. So again, the assumption is you already have access to the memory capture that we're going to be working with in this video. Alright, so we're going to get logged in. Alright, so we have our WannaCry virtual memory file on our desktop. Let's open up a terminal. And to make this easier, I've actually already walked through and written out the commands. So first thing is pwd, see what we're working at. We're in our home directory. Our memory dump is on our desktop. Good. ls. And we can see that our memory dump is here on our desktop. So we're going to be using a Python script, the vol.py. We're going to be doing our image, or our profile more specifically, of the file wcry.vmem. So this portion right here probably takes the longest. What it's doing now is it's trying to find the profile that is attached to this memory. And our profile is Windows XP Service Pack 2 or Windows XP Service Pack 3. We can see the number of processors, 1. We can see the service pack, 3. We can see other date and time of when this memory capture had occurred. So again, image date and time, 2017, May 12, around 11:26 p.m. UTC. So with that said, we know that realistically it's going to be XP, either Service Pack 2 or XP Service Pack 3. So from there, we actually want to look at the different processes that might be running against it or with it. So first thing we're going to do is we will do vol.py pstree. My keyboard's being extra special today, so I'm going to go ahead and modify my screen a little bit. So we ran vol.py, we're looking at the process tree of WannaCry, looking at what it would be like for Windows XP Service Pack 2. Here are the process IDs, here are the parent process IDs. First thing you're going to notice is we look through our list and we can see that there is a process called WannaDecryptor. It has the current process ID of 740, but it has a parent process ID of 1940. Parent process ID is the ID of the parent that actually called this. So we're going to look at the process IDs that have 1940, and lo and behold, task scheduler has the PID of 1940. So that meant task scheduler called this ransomware. So we could think that task scheduler probably infected what was going on. So this actually lets us know, hey, something is going on here. Alright, so what we can do now is we can look at our PSX view. It does not want to be friendly with me today. So basically, running PSX view will show other processes that might be attempting to hide. So that's what we're going to do. It will take a second. We can see things like task se.exe, which is not part of the PS list. We can look to see what processes are hidden or are hiding behind the scenes. Though, in reality, we didn't see anything useful here, but it could be interesting to note. So that's one large part with this. Alright, so we know the process, we know the parent ID, we know what called it. So let's look at some memory. Let's look at the network connectivity of things that were running in memory. So we're going to look at vol.py sockets. So this is going to be similar to netstat. This is going to show you all of the running connections. And you'll notice WannaCry isn't here. Task scheduler isn't here. 1940 isn't here, or the PID 1940 isn't here. That just means at the time of this memory capture that the process was not calling out to the internet for anything. Well, at the same time, it's ransomware, so we have to think about its purpose. And in reality, this probably wasn't actually calling out to the internet for anything, because once it was put on the machine, it didn't need to call it to the internets. So the next question is, how did we get it then? So we can do strings, WannaCry.bmem. We can grep HTTP. It's going to give us all of the websites that were in memory at the time. I'm actually going to pipe that to a folder. I will call it URL text. That way we can kind of see what is here. So what's the point here? Realistically, this is all the websites that were being accessed in memory at the time of this dump. We may want to investigate the websites. That way we can determine where the malware came from. Realistically, things that are like Microsoft.com, we may want to ignore. Also, because it's a memory dump, the extension like .com, they may add an additional character at the end. So do keep that in mind. If you go to like usertrust.com 1, it doesn't work, get rid of the 1. What we would do is we would look through all of these sites and we would determine which one is probably the infected site. And how would we do that? Virus total. We would be going, instead of file, we're looking at URLs. And we could just type in the different URLs. we don't want so much to browse through the sites. We want to see if any of them are suspicious enough that might cause malware. And this one's getting an item not found, so probably wasn't there. And again, the goal here would be looking through all of the sites to see what was going on. And again, when we go to a site, we are looking to see if it's suspicious or if it's not. And a lot of the sites probably are not going to be suspicious. Only one or two will actually have the suspicious. So you'll see it in orange or red that it is suspicious. And as we go through this, we would be going and would be checking all of these sites. Like, these are all the same website. We wouldn't need to check them individually. We would be doing that one at a time, but we're looking for more specifically the ones that are odd. BTC Frog, that's a Bitcoin. Microsoft.com, that is Microsoft, and so forth. So that actually is the end of this lab, but I did want to point out one other thing. What about what files are running in memory? So I'm going to do Control-Shift-T, vol.py, tac h for help. And you're going to see there is a ton of options here. Profiles or pools or patchers. Find all of this. So you can run a lot of different commands that might be useful. But more importantly, it's about what are you trying to accomplish. So a common thing when I do this, I want to see what files are being accessed in memory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to give you guys a minute to let you guys see if you can determine the appropriate switch for determining the files that are in memory. Alright, so I understand realistically me pausing the video and you pausing the video are not the same thing. I get that, but the important part here is pause the video on your side, go through the list, and determine where we could find files. So you'll notice here we have a file scan. So let's run that. Let's see if that works. So we have our vol.py file scan. We're giving it the file tac f WannaCry memory. We're giving it the profile still. And this is a list of things, files, directories. So I'll do dir.txt. I'll dump this to a text document. That way we can look at what's going on. Alright, so took a second or two, open it up. And we can see all of the files, all the directories that were open and being accessed during the time of this memory dump. interesting, we can see there are certain folders, there are certain users that had content open when the memory dump was captured. Here we have a Donnie user. They were accessing the accessibility in the desktop. Here we have event provider. Wow. Here is a unique path. The volume in the Intel folder. So our malware is in that directory. What else is in that directory? We have a message. We have, again, another message. Notice the extension .wnry. Here we have taskscheduler.exe. That's not where it's supposed to live, but this is where it's currently located. So I bet this executable was probably rootkitted and had malware as part of it. We'd have to investigate it further, but upon our initial assessment, that would make sense. Yeah, so this entire directory looks like there is some malware. That's the location of the malware. So how do we actually dump it? Like, how do we get it? First of all, this is malware, so this is ransomware, so I don't want to extract the malware. So I want to be kind of careful at this point. You can extract data files out of memory. It's just a matter of what do you expect to do with it. And if we were furthering the investigation, that's what we would be doing. Again, today's focus was more just the memory analysis, not the entire process. So with that said, you need to keep in mind, like, what's the purpose? We'd be documenting things like location, the timestamps and all of that, detail-wise, but keep in mind that we have to be careful. You could also grep certain other filtering options. Maybe you want to see what executables were running at the time, because you'll notice things like Solitaire were running at the time in memory while this ransomware had been ran and captured. So if we were investigating, we would be drilling down into what other things that were being accessed. Alright, so that finishes up our course today. So that covered the DFIR Unit 07 Lab 1, looking at WannaCry inside memory. We found the date that it was put there, we found the location of the files, and we were able to see kind of what other files were in that directory. Again, the purpose of this video was to just begin our understanding of memory analysis. If you have any questions, any concerns, definitely feel free to reach out. Thank you.